what's up? I'm Collin Jorgensen, and I built this Jeep right here. I call it Sergeant Liberty. I put some 1-ton axles underneath it and rebuilt the whole suspension and just did a whole bunch of fun stuff that I had a hell of a time sitting there and learning how to build. And I built it, and now I'm out here at East Jeep Safari just enjoying myself and not breaking anything yet. Been an absolute blast.
Cool. All right. Well, show us some of the cool stuff on the Jeep.
Well, probably one of my favorite things, since it's a 95 YJ and it was built on leaf springs, I changed it over to coils. I went to Fox Coils. I went and had them put some coils in there and readjusted the springs so they were the right spring rate so that it just rides real nice. And then I went with aluminum links in the rear right here from Summit Machine. Summit Machine does a real good job. She built some really nice links for my Jeep right here. And then up here in the front, I went ahead and went with steel links. And same with Fox suspension in the front with the Fox bumps. As far as everything else goes, I mean, I just had a real fun time sitting there and trying to figure out what parts are gonna fit what. Because I had to bring this front axle forward about 11 inches. So in order to bring that front axle forward 11 inches, I had to actually go with a different steering box. So the steering box that is right here, this old steering box is from an old Chevy van from the 80s. Because this pitman arm normally goes to the reverse, because I moved this front axle forward, I was able to get one from the Chevy vans and move it forward so that this pitman arm faces the different direction so I can stretch everything and still have my geometry at the correct dimensions. And then I had to lower the engine itself. I had to lower the transmission and the transfer case. Everything's been lowered for a very lower center of gravity. It's kind of the whole purpose of this build is so that I can take things and I don't get tippy. So when I go out and I race the rig, I don't sit there, I don't roll over. I can actually take things with speed. So it's not necessarily a rock crawler, but it has the gearing to be a rock crawler. It's kind of set up like those Ultra 4 cars to where if you wanted to go on something and do it faster, you can, but it's got the gearing to do it slow as well, if you wanted to.
Cool. And what engine?
It's got the 4.0, so it's still got that stock engine from a 95 YJ that they came with the AX15 transmission and a Dana 300 transfer case from a little bit older series Jeeps. And that way when I went with that Dana 300, I went to a twin stick operation. You got a green one and a black one. Those are my twin sticks on that transfer case. That's what's going to shift me between 4-wheel drive and 2-wheel drive, as well as front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. And I have those options in high and low as well. So I now have options to, if I had to do a front tire dig to scoop my front end over and not move my rear end, I could. The rear axle is a Sterling 10.5 and the front axle is a Dana 60. Inside those I have 538 gearing for the ring and pinion. This Dana 60 from a Dodge comes out, goes into the carrier bearing on a CV joint. Then from the carrier bearing that's right in here, it then goes back to the transfer case. That allows me to bring my angle from my transfer case back out to this point, then down to my front axle, allowing me to be able to get about 13 to 20 degrees more in flex.
Oh yeah.
To where now my drive shaft, it pivots from right here at the same point that my link is.
Instead of shaft, in the skid plate.
Instead of pivoting another 10 inches back, it pivots at the same point that my link does. So when my link pivots 12 degrees, so does my drive shaft. So they pivot together.
Yeah.
Because my drive shaft, since it's a CV drive shaft, I'm only getting a certain amount of degrees of angle that it can move. When I move that from the transfer case and forward and I make it shorter, it can travel longer.
Oh yeah.
So I can net almost 14 inches of travel out of the front, and I get about 12 inches of travel out of the rear. Just because I didn't bring that rear axle, I told you I moved the front axle forward about 11 inches and the rear back about 2. If I would have moved that rear axle back further, I could have netted further travel, but I didn't have enough room to do that and still make it look good. Because the Jeep's gotta look good, right? You can't just have it sitting back too far and have it look like trash. But when I moved the forward so far, I had to do the carrier bearing. And when you look at a lot of like Ultra 4 rigs and rigs that go fast or rigs that have moved their front axle forward so far, they've all kind of done the same thing where they use that carrier bearing to move that pivot point of that axle, that CV section, further forward to maximize your angle for flex. So the thing that I really like about the way I built, preparing for mishaps is when I break a drive shaft. When I break a drive shaft, I've actually got it set up to where I built it in such a way that my front drive shaft from the carrier bearing forward is the same length and the same parts as my rear drive shaft. So that when I have parts on hand, I have one drive shaft spare, and that will also replace my front as well as it will replace my rear. When I went up potato salad, I was in third gear the whole time, third gear and low. And it just allowed me to just kind of shoot right up and just kind of go right through it without even having to shift gears. I just kind of found that right gear, that happy medium. First gear in 4 low was way too low. It's just kind of like letting your tires just barely turn. I hit that third gear and it hits a good ratio to where I can kind of bounce right up those rocks and not really think too much about it and let the suspension do the work. Because that's kind of how I built it, is I built it so I don't have to air down my tires. I let the suspension do the work, not the tires. Because the tires are great, the tire specification says to run it at 35 PSI so you don't get a flat. So you run it at 35 PSI and you balance your spring rate correctly, and you don't actually have to air down. Airing down is nice for traction, but when you have the right spring rate, you can hit things a little bit faster and not have to be going too slow. So that's what's good for racing. When you're building a rock crawler, yes, you might want to air down, you might want to have a little bit lower tire pressure because you're not trying to bounce over anything. With the suspension and everything I've built here, I can kind of bounce over it and I should just be able to kind of launch right through everything I need to, slide over what I need to, and not damage anything. Yeah. So that's kind of been the whole build between this one right here. And it's taken me about 3 years to get there.
That's great.
So now that I'm there, I'm out here at Eastern Jeep Safari again, just enjoying myself. I've been out here for the last 7 years or so, and I keep coming out.
Well, guys, you heard it. It's me, Liam, gone Jeeping, here with Collin, with a YJ that makes mine look like not that great. But hey, it's a YJ. Square headlights are cool. You did a beautiful job on this.
Hey, if you got a YJ, all YJs are beautiful.
YJs are cool.
There ain't nothing about it. YJs are the most beautiful square headlight Jeep you can have out there.
Yeah, see, I'm finding friends out here in Moab. But no, you did a great job, and I like how you talked about the tire pressure because you built it for race, where you want the sidewall. You want the sidewall to have some rigidity to it, where versus the rock crawlers, we'll run it at like 2 PSI and call it a day.
Yeah, you kind of let your tires squish over everything, but then when you got that higher tire pressure, you can kind of bounce over everything and let your suspension do the work versus your tires. Your suspension is what you need when you're racing.
Yeah, and it was cool. It's a fun perspective in a world full of rock crawlers, so I'm really glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
All right, well, this has been Gone Jeeping, and square headlights are cool. Tell me who you are. What are we doing?
Hi, I'm Becky. This is Alex.
I'm Alex.
We're out here repping Jeep. Got some free stuff for
Giving away
everyone
some
here.
cool stuff.
About to go up in this guy's ride. Very
Meet
terrified.
some Jeep enthusiasts.
Very excited.
Also
Let's do
very
this.
excited.
How was that?
Fucking awesome. Do it again. 10 out of 10.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Gone Jeeping.